Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The stage is set for the White House talks on the war in Ukraine, and late word on who's joining the negotiations. A monster storm will impact millions on the East Coast, and a mass shooting in New York City. We're going to begin with the Ukraine peace talks. NATO and European leaders now planning to join Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the White House tomorrow. President Trump saying there's big progress and urging Americans to stay tuned. His special envoy claiming Russian President Vladimir Putin made a key concession. What this could mean for Ukraine's security as Zelenskyy demands an immediate ceasefire. Reports tonight from Ukraine and Washington. Hurricane Erin expected to intensify once again in the Atlantic. Millions on the East Coast could be impacted by waves topping 12 feet and dangerous rip currents. New Hampshire's lifeguards already making more than 140 rescues in 1 week. And the Midwest facing more severe storms. Giant hail reported and parts of Wisconsin flooded. Our weather team standing by to time it all out. The mass shooting at a New York City restaurant. 3 killed, 9 injured. Survivors rushed to hospitals. Tonight, the manhunt for the suspects. Hundreds more National Guard troops are being deployed to the nation's capital. They're being sent to join the Trump administration's crackdown on crime. But protests are growing, and a key Senate Democrat calls the deployment an abuse of power. Air Canada flights remain grounded, while many flight attendants are defying a government order to return to work and leaving up to 100,000 passengers stranded. 2 American tourists drowned at a new resort in the Bahamas. What we're learning as authorities investigate. A major freeway shut down for hours after a truck carrying 8 Teslas burst into flames. The lithium-ion batteries sending toxic smoke high into the air. Remember Terrence Stamp, the British actor known for playing Hollywood's villains. And America Strong from Venice Beach to Virginia Beach. She skated across the U.S. for a special purpose.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, and it's good to have you with us on this Sunday. I'm Rachel Scott in for Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with yet another high-stakes meeting on the war in Ukraine. European and NATO leaders are now set to join President Zelenskyy for a face-to-face meeting with President Trump at the White House tomorrow. The Trump administration now saying both sides need to make concessions to end the war in Ukraine. All this just days after that historic meeting in Alaska between the U.S. and Russia led to no agreement and produced even more questions than answers. Russia continuing its attacks on Ukraine, launching dozens of drones into the region this weekend. ABC's Ian Pannell has been covering this conflict for nearly 4 years, and he leads us off tonight from Ukraine.
Tonight, in a show of force, European and NATO leaders announcing that they'll be by Ukrainian President Zelenskyy's side at tomorrow's meeting with President Trump.
Our position is clear. International borders cannot be changed by force. These are decisions to be made by Ukraine and Ukraine alone.
On the heels of the summit between Trump and Putin, where no clear agreement was reached, President Zelenskyy today doubling down on his demands for a ceasefire.
So it's necessary to cease fire and work quickly on a final deal. We'll talk about it in Washington. Putin does not want to stop the killing, but he must do it.
Despite talking peace, no signs Russia is slowing down its assault on Ukraine. More Russian attacks tonight. And overnight, Ukraine's air defense intercepting a barrage of Russian missiles and drones across eastern Ukraine. Zelenskyy rejecting Russian demands, he gives up even more land.
The constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land.
Russia occupies 20% of Ukraine's territory. Sources telling ABC News during the summit, Putin demanded Ukraine give up the Donetsk region in exchange for halting offensives elsewhere and further attacks. Today, Zelenskyy said those discussions can only happen with Ukraine at the table.
So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will happen, and if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow.
Ahead of tomorrow's meeting, Trump writing on social media, big progress on Russia, stay tuned. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who was in the talks, saying the United States got Russia to agree that if Ukraine is attacked again, the U.S. could defend it.
We were able to win the following concession, that the United States could offer Article 5-like protection, which is one of the real reasons why Ukraine wants to be in NATO.
But Secretary of State Marco Rubio telling ABC News that a peace agreement is still far off.
You can't have a peace agreement unless both sides make concessions. If not, it's just called surrender. And neither side is going to surrender. So both sides are going to have to make concessions.
Rachel, tomorrow's meeting is critical for Ukraine. European leaders rallying to protect Ukraine's Zelenskyy and have to persuade President Trump to toughen his position on Russia. Rachel?
All right, Ian, thank you. So let's bring in ABC's Alex Perche, who is at the White House where that meeting will be tomorrow. Alex, all of this came together very quickly.
That's right, Rachel. It came together incredibly quickly. President Trump on the phone with NATO leaders as he was headed back from that summit in Alaska. And if you remember, the last time that Zelenskyy was in the Oval Office, it turned into a shouting match. But tomorrow, he will be supported by French President Emmanuel Macron, UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the German Chancellor, the head of the EU, and NATO's Secretary General. Macron today questioned if Russia truly wants lasting peace, saying if we are weak today with Russia, we prepare the wars of tomorrow. The Trump administration right now is pursuing a peace agreement and is hoping to move forward with that through a trilateral meeting between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. But, Rachel, a lot of that depends on how tomorrow goes. Rachel?
It certainly does. All right, Alex Perche reporting from the White House tonight. Alex, thank you. We turn now to the weather and the storm slamming the Midwest. Severe storms dumping heavy rain in the Chicago area overnight, flooding roads, stranding drivers, and leaving thousands without power. Hail and gusty winds also battered parts of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Here's meteorologist Dani Beckstrom from our New York station, WABC.
Strong wind, heavy rain, and flash flooding taking aim at the Midwest tonight. From Iowa to Minnesota and Wisconsin, powerful storms downing trees and power lines. More rain in Milwaukee as they continue to recover from historic flooding just a week ago. That system, the back end of a front keeping a strengthening Hurricane Erin away from the East Coast. Erin, now a Category 3, a slow-moving storm inching forward in the Atlantic. Hurricane hunters capturing this as it brushed past the Caribbean. This drone video out of Puerto Rico shows massive waves pounding the shoreline, even as the hurricane is downgraded from an intense Category 5 to a Cat 3.
North Carolina declaring a state of emergency for Dare County and a mandatory evacuation of Hatteras Island.
The first major storm in the Atlantic bringing dangerous surf from Florida to Maine, waves up to 12 feet expected in some places. And with recent drownings along the East Coast, lifeguards are already on alert. In St. Augustine, Florida, strong tidal currents sweeping a swimmer nearly 3/4 of a mile offshore, forcing first responders into a dramatic rescue. And in New Hampshire, more than 140 people were rescued last week as a far weaker storm caused rough waves and choppy seas.
And Dani joins us now. Dani, you're also tracking Hurricane Erin gaining strength across the Atlantic tonight.
Yeah, we're starting with Erin, still a major Category 3 hurricane, Rachel, with max sustained wind holding steady at 125 miles per hour. But re-strengthening is expected as the track turns north. Tropical storm warnings in effect for Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas tonight. That northern turn expected to start tomorrow as the major hurricane rides north just off the east coast. A cold front should act as a buffer from direct U.S. impact, but rough surf and rip currents still bring significant danger starting tomorrow in the southeast, midweek in the mid-Atlantic, and through the end of the week in the northeast. As for tonight's severe weather threat, the upper Midwest and parts of the plains still in the bullseye with flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts possible through tomorrow morning. Rachel?
All right, Dani, tracking it all for us. Dani, thank you. We turn now to a terrifying scene in New York. 3 people are dead and 9 others injured. Police say it appears that several people fired shots inside a crowded restaurant overnight. Dozens of shell casings were recovered at the scene. Police are now searching for the suspects. Here's ABC's Olivia Rubin.
An urgent manhunt tonight for multiple suspects police say opened fire in a Brooklyn restaurant, killing 3 and injuring 9 others.
Possible person shot 903 Franklin Avenue.
Police swarming Taste of the City Lounge around 3 a.m. after calls of a chaotic scene started coming in. Officials say a dispute inside escalated, leaving multiple people wounded by several shooters. Investigators sifting through evidence at the scene today, saying they recovered a gun nearby and dozens of shell casings inside that lounge.
Our job now is to determine who is responsible and to hold them accountable.
Today's incident comes amid a record low in gun violence. The NYPD saying there were 264 shootings and 112 murders from January to May of this year, the lowest ever recorded for that period.
Thankfully, tonight, officials say those 9 injured victims are being treated in the hospital, all of them with non-life-threatening injuries. Rachel?
Olivia, thank you. Next tonight, more National Guard troops are heading to Washington, D.C. West Virginia is expected to send troops soon. Two other Republican-led states, Ohio and South Carolina, may join them. It comes as President Trump is cracking down on crime in the city, deploying 800 National Guard troops to the nation's capital. But city leaders and others are now pushing back. Here's ABC's Noel Lengi.
Free DC! Tonight, a significant escalation on the streets of the nation's capital. 350 more citizen soldiers expected to arrive from West Virginia in the coming days, bringing the number of National Guard members to 1,126. On the streets today, mixed sentiment about the mission.
I think it's pretty ridiculous, honestly.
I think it's good. I feel safe.
Two other Republican-led states, Ohio and South Carolina, also offering to send troops. Democrats calling it a manufactured crisis.
Crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low and a downward trajectory. So this is all an opportunity for Donald Trump to play dictator in Washington, D.C.
Trump must go now! And this weekend, hundreds taking to the streets to protest. Get off our streets! Some residents shouting at officers making stops. Federal marshals, members of the ATF, as well as ICE also assisting D.C. police. The city's mayor, in a letter to residents, vowing to defend Washington, D.C.'s autonomy.
What we want to do is make sure that this federal surge is useful to us. And that's what the chief has been very, very good in working with the federal leadership and accomplishing.
That police chief secure in her job, at least for now. On Friday, the DOJ agreeing to scale back efforts to take over the city's police force after a federal judge raised concerns.
A hostile takeover of our police force is not going to happen.
Well, Rachel, up to this point, troops here in Washington have been unarmed, but officials say that could change in the coming days. In past deployments ordered by President Trump, National Guard troops have, in fact, carried their weapons, Rachel.
All right, Mola, thank you. We turn now to the travel chaos in Canada. Air Canada is now scrapping plans to resume flights today after flight attendants defied an order from the government to end the strike and return to work. So let's bring in ABC's Melissa Don. Melissa, what more are you learning about when those flights are going to resume?
Yes, Rachel. So Air Canada yet again suspending those flights today. And all of this despite the Canadian government ordering the flight attendants on strike to return to work. Well, look, Air Canada is now saying that the union is defying an order from the Canada Industrial Relations Board to get back to work. The airline was expecting to restart limited operations today, but because the flight attendants remain on the picket lines, this forced the airline to suspend that plan. And Air Canada is the largest carrier in Canada, operating about 700 flights a day, and the impacts of this strike have been felt during this busy summer travel period, with tens of thousands of passengers stranded at airports after flight attendants walked off the job yesterday, all this following months of negotiations over a new contract. Now, Air Canada is advising all these passengers not to come to the airport unless you have a confirmed flight, but they do hope, Rachel, to resume their full operations tomorrow night.
And we'll see if that holds. All right, Melissa, thank you. 2 cruise line passengers died in 2 separate drowning incidents at a new luxury resort in the Bahamas. Police say a man and a woman, both in their 70s, were found unresponsive on Friday. The new details just coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Ika Jachi.
Tragedy in paradise tonight after 2 American tourists drowned in separate incidents at Carnival Cruise Line's brand new $600 million private destination, Celebration Key. An urgent investigation underway after authorities say a 79-year-old man had become unresponsive while snorkeling at a beach. Then, hours later, a 74-year-old woman in the lagoon became unresponsive while swimming in a pool. Both were pulled from the water by a lifeguard, given CPR, but did not survive. In a statement, Carnival confirming the incidents and offering their thoughts and prayers to the guests who were sailing with their family. The $600 million luxury compound on the Grand Bahama that opened last month allows the cruise line's largest ships to dock while passengers have exclusive access to the area. Rachel, tonight Bahamian police are conducting autopsies. Carnival says they will cooperate and have trained lifeguards and medical professionals who respond promptly. Rachel?
All right, Ike, thank you. We turn now to the massive protests across Israel. Thousands taking to the streets today over the war in Gaza. This as the IDF prepares for a major assault on Gaza City. So let's bring in ABC's Marcus Moore. And Marcus, these protests are about the hostages.
Rachel, that's right. Tens of thousands demonstrating near Tel Aviv's Hostage Square tonight, calling for a deal
There have been reports of some clashes and dozens of arrests, and despite the public pressure, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains defiant, saying that there can be no end to this war until Hamas is defeated. All of this as the situation in Gaza remains dire. People are dying by the dozens every day, including some who are starving to death, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. In fact, tonight we have exclusive video that shows a glimpse of the chaos and danger some are facing to get food for their families. We see people ducking for cover as bullets whiz by. In another moment, new video shows people rushing aid trucks. Rachel, this is the horror so many are living through as this war rages on. The death toll in Gaza is approaching 62,000 people. Rachel.
Staggering number. All right, Marcus, thank you. And there's still so much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, including the fire that shut down a major freeway as multiple Teslas went up in flames, and an American tourist attacked and severely injured by a shark in the Bahamas. Next tonight, dramatic video of a violent incident during an immigration enforcement operation this weekend. Federal agents had surrounded a car in San Bernardino, California. The Department of Homeland Security says the 3 people inside refused to come out. According to the men in the car, the driver feared for his life. The car drove off and an agent fired multiple shots at the vehicle. DHS says the shots were fired in self-defense. The family called local police for help. Federal agents then went to the driver's home, but no arrests were made. Moving on to a dangerous situation on a busy highway. A car carrier loaded with 8 Teslas went up in flames yesterday on the 5 freeway in Los Angeles. It took firefighters several hours to put out the flames as they battled toxic smoke from burning lithium-ion batteries. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire is currently under investigation. And tonight, details are just coming in on the shark attack in the Bahamas. An American tourist was bitten yesterday while swimming. Initial reports say the 63-year-old man was spearfishing when he was attacked and sustained severe injuries. He was treated at a local clinic before being airlifted to the U.S. When we come back, we'll remember an actor who was a master at playing villains. To the Index now, and a special honor for our 39th president. Today, the Postal Service unveiled a new forever stamp featuring President Jimmy Carter, who died last December at 100 years old. The service says it offers a way for the world to share his legacy. It goes on sale October 1st, which would have been Carter's 101st birthday. British actor Terrence Stamp died today. He received an Oscar nomination for his first movie role in the 1962 Billy Budd. Stamp acted for 6 decades, appearing in Wall Street and The Adjustment Bureau. But he may be best known for appearing as General Zod in the Superman films. His family confirmed his death. Terrence Stamp was 87 years old. All right, and when we come back, America's Strong, the special reason she traveled across the country by skateboard. Finally tonight, America's Strong. Sometimes it was gnarly, sometimes it was rad, but in the end, she made it.
Right now, let's do it!
For the last 119 days, 29-year-old Brooke Johnson has hit the road, crossing America state by state on a skateboard.
So sorry, guys. Pardon us.
On a mission to raise money for spinal cord research in memory of her late stepfather who suffered a spinal cord injury.
Look at this pavement.
Brooke started out in Venice Beach, California.
Hey, we're skating across America.
Yeah. Then skating at night in Arizona to beat the daytime heat. Passing a horse and buggy in Amish country.
I wish I had a horse right now. This is awesome.
Traveling over 3,000 miles, all on that skateboard. Ending her journey nearly 4 months later in Virginia Beach.
Let's hear it for Brooke.
Wearing this necklace with her stepfather's ashes at the finish line.
We did it, Raj.
She raised over $50,000 for Wings for Life. And Brooke walking away with something too, becoming the first woman to skateboard across America.
You can do anything. You're going to hit a lot of walls. It's going to be really difficult, but you can do anything you put your mind to.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 3rd year in a row.